Progress.
We recruit them to the doctoral programs at Gardner-Webb. The doctoral programs couldn't be happier with the level of writing that our students are able to do once they matriculate from the add-on or the master's program into the doctoral program. They're just tickled pink.
You're right. Steve Stone, Dr. Laws complimented us just last week.
Yeah.
I was on a committee with him last week, and he was bragging on 601 staff.
Right, that when, you know, that they get started with their dissertation right away. And for those of you, and I'll stop my share for a second. For those of you who don't know, Gardner-Webb's doctoral programs are unique in that they appoint you a coach just like you have with us at Mel's. They've adopted this, and you start writing your dissertation from day one, so that it doesn't take you. You're not as old as me and Dr. Stedman when you get through. They have 2 years of coursework, and everybody is finishing somewhere. 3 years is the maximum, and a lot of them are finishing in 2 to 2.5 because they're writing their dissertation as they go. And the reason why is what you're being put through in this program. You're ready to start writing as a doctoral candidate from day one. And so, yes, you get the benefit of, for this program, writing your evidences in your portfolio, and it will help you in your job when you have to write your evidences for your evaluation. The evaluation system is also evidence as an artifact. But if you want to matriculate on into the doctoral program, which I know some already have their doctorate, but some of you want to do that, this will certainly help you. We teach you exactly what they teach their doctoral candidates. Dr. Bishop went through our EDCI program fairly recently, and so you don't have to learn a new system. You don't have to learn what's the other one that people use besides APA? What's the other style? But anyway, we all use, when they change, we change, so that you are ready to matriculate right into that program. And that is invaluable when it comes to getting a good start on your dissertation.
And Dr. Lamb, next semester, you don't need it this semester, but next semester, Dr. Lamb's going to share with you an opportunity that you could possibly bypass going into 605 and going into another route going into the doctoral program. Is that correct, Dr. Lamb?
Well, we probably won't do it for fall start people because they would have to accelerate into summer. Now, there's discussion that we can do that if they start a summer. The president's new initiative this week is that he would like to see as many classes in the summer as spring and fall. Well, the only way that we can do that is we'll have to start summer starts. You know, right now we don't do summer starts, and so there's never going to be very many classes in the summer, either graduate or undergraduate. But that was his initiative that was announced this week, that he wants to see as many people enrolled in the summer as the other 2 semesters. Well, that would mean that we would have to do a summer start. And doctoral programs are a natural fit for a summer start.
So there could be a possibility.
Exactly. And the good thing about that is you wouldn't end up in the summer. Right now, part of the issue with doctoral programs is that the last semester of the regular coursework is summer. And that's why most people at least go to fall to finish. But if you started in the summer where they had a full semester as their matriculating semester, the last one, it's possible that you do that. So what we do for spring start, for those of you who don't know, in the add-on licensure program for spring start folks, you take 601 in the spring, 603 in the summer. Instead of taking 605 in the fall and getting your license in December, we let you take 730 in the EDLS program, start your doctoral program, which saves you the cost of 605, and you still get your license in December, and you're one semester closer, and you get to save that. Well, tuition is $498 a semester plus fees, so it's about $3,500 you save. And so, sure enough, we may be able to offer that to you folks if we do a summer start. Now, again, we've never done a summer start, but that doesn't mean that we won't. It looks to me like we'd have to do something like that if we're going to meet the president's goal to fill the rosters up in summertime. So something to think about. But you know, the writing that you're doing is going to help you. So I'm supposed to be kicking off tonight, and we'll go ahead and get started. I tend to be long-winded anyway. So we're going to talk about the difference, according to the share screen, the difference between competency analysis and Competency Folio. So I'm going to take you to the state handbook on executive standards. And this is what it says about competencies. There are 21 there are 8 executive standards, and there are 21 competencies that you must show us that you are proficient in by the time that you leave this program. And here they are. You've seen them before. Here are the 21 administrative competencies. Now, what's the difference between competency analysis and competency folio? Well, it's right here in the definition. It says a competency is a combination. That means 2 things: knowledge, factual and experiential, and skills that one needs to effectively implement the practices. Factual knowledge is simply knowing the content. That would be analysis. Experiential knowledge is the knowledge one gains from understanding, knowing when and why. That's the skill. That would be the folio, the artifacts that show that you did that thing. And so the first thing that you do in 601 add-on is when you get to AAPSL task 5. Let me show you that document. Move this out of the way. You're asked to do competency analysis, and you have 12 competencies that you write an analysis. And here's the example. It's in your template, your AAPSL template that you already have. It's in your shell that shows you how you write a competency analysis. You tell us what you did. You're basically presenting your argument that I am competent in conflict management because I did this. That's what you're telling us. That's your argument. That's your analysis. I am a visionary because I did this. I can delegate because I did this. Systems thinking, emotional change management, judgment, communication, technology, because I did this. So I am telling you that I am competent in technology. And I'm arguing that that I am competent in technology. And I would say I went through the training and did I have done my updated training in Tasktream. That I have got my certificate for my updated. I've got the next level in Tasktream. That's what I am telling you. And Dr. Stedman says, I don't know about that. That sounds a little bit shaky. And so here's what I would do then. I would go to my competency folio that I will teach you in 2 weeks. Hope it'll be 2 weeks. I sent her the list yesterday. She's getting your accounts now, but it'll either be a Thursday a week from today or the Thursday after that. We'll see how fast they get your licenses purchased. But I'm ready for you. It won't take but a minute once they do that. So when you get your Tasktream portfolio, it'll have for all your evidences and all of that stuff. But you will create your own competency folio to put the proof of your competency in. Remember, there's 2 parts. There's the knowledge and then there's the doing. The competency folio is for artifacts, for things that prove that you did what you said you did. So I go to my competency folio. I've already told you, I've already argued for my competency on technology. I go to my folio. I go down to technology. And it says that I have to do one of these, one from the OA, one from the SOP, and one open-ended. So mine's going to be open-ended tonight. And actively advance and promote digital competency by increasing resources for professional growth. Well, that's what task stream is all about. So what I will do then is I will go to text and image, and I'll write a little description here about what I've done. This is a digital, D-I-G-I-T-A-L. This is a digital competency, P-E-T-E-N-C-Y. I passed my next level task string update. All right, so I said that I would do that, and I did that. And so let me move some of this stuff out of the way. All right, so save and return. All right, and so now I've got that narrative, and now I am going to do my attachment, and I'm going to an artifact, upload from computer, add files. I'm going to go to my pictures directory. And hopefully I picked the right one. No, that's not the right one. And if I get the wrong one, I can just delete it. Not a big deal. Upload from my computer, add my files.
Anything on Blackboard that would be technology, you pass that one.
Yep.
Okay, that was near the. So I'm not. There it is.
There it is.
Well,
Upload and close. And so now when somebody goes to my, and I can save and return that. And so when I click on technology, and when you put this in, when somebody, your coach opens this up to make sure you did what you said you did on technology, this is what they will see. That's watermarked as task stream. What's that say I did? I did exactly what I said I did. I did my educator disposition assessment refresher calibration training completion. That means I did the next level up for program management in task stream. That means I can be a system administrator. That's the highest level training. So I completed that. Right there it is. It says so. It's got my name on it. So I can prove that I did what I said I did in technology. So that shows that I am competent to work in task stream. That's the area of technology. I have the certificate to prove that I did the training and passed. So that is the difference, good folks, between arguing for competency. I told you what I did in task 5, but then in my competency folio, I showed you proof, an artifact, a thing, a picture of that proves that I did what I said I did. So that's the difference between competency analysis, which you will do in task 5 of the AAPSL and task 4 of the AAPTEL this semester. You will tell us how you achieved competency in all 21 of those competencies for administrators. And then at the end of the semester, you will go to your task stream Competency Folio that I will teach you to create in either a week or two. And you will put your things in it, your artifacts that prove that you are what you said you are. And as I told you last week, this thing is like gold when you go to interview for a job. They know you're not just full of hot air. Now, just because I'm still full of hot air, even though I have the artifacts to prove it. But when you walk in and you're trying to impress somebody, you can tell them how wonderful you are. But it's a whole lot more effective to show them how effective you are. That's the whole notion here. That's why we separate it out and make a portable folio for you. You can download, share it, and share that and download a link, and you can send that to an employer in an email. Boom, they can open that link, and there it is. Boomity, boomity, boom. If we had time, and I don't want to take all your time tonight, I'd show you. It's just as easy to do a link. I have a link to an article from today, that a collaboration from today, an article that was published in a newspaper. So I went to that newspaper, and I clicked on that little email thing, and it emailed me that link. And I can keep that link, and I could upload that link, and somebody could open that link and read that article about the new initiative, this joint initiative that we're doing with the school district that I've been working on for about 8 months. It's finally come to fruition. It's been now publicly announced. And so it's not about boasting or bragging, but if somebody said, Dale, what have you done? Right here's what I did. I mean, I could tell you how hard I worked, burning the midnight hours with the attorneys, writing contracts, and doing all that stuff. Here's the article. You can see the actual proof of the work that was done. And that's what people want to see. They want to see proof. I would tell you the story of the greatest story ever told, but I don't have time tonight. It's not the greatest story ever told. It's the story of the greatest story ever told. But the punchline on the story is be the person that does the great work, not just the person who hired them or knows them. You be the person who does the great work. That's kind of the punchline to the long-winded story. I'll tell you that story another night time. It's not the story of the greatest story ever told. It's the story of the greatest story ever told. And so we want you to be doers. We want you to know, but we want you to be doers, and we want you to be able to prove that you're doers as well. All right.
Thank you, Dr. Lamb. And while Dr. Hamilton, if you'll go ahead and get ready, she's going to talk about the peer review process. Dr. Lamb, if you would talk about just briefly about the types of devices they need to be using for this program.
It's got to be Windows based.
Yeah.
As I told you, no Apple, no iPads, no iPods. None of them. We're not. Nothing that we have is compatible with Apple products. Now, if you've got one of those high-flying Macintoshes that will run Windows, that will convert and run those, I think those might work. But I know iPads will not work. I don't care if your school gave you one. Invest $300 in a cheap laptop, you'll be fine. I have one everywhere. This is my regular laptop. I've got a really nice laptop at work, but everywhere I go, I sleep in a couple different places. I will always have. I'll always have a $300 laptop backup everywhere I go. And so you need to get in that habit. Hold one second. All right.
Okay, whoever asked the question, just remember that a regular, if you have a MacBook or an iPad, they will not work with the program. You cannot pull up the links. And actually, when you start submitting your work to us, we don't get it. We don't see it the way you write it when it comes to us, and it creates problems when we are trying to grade your work. So,
Yeah, and most of the time, it won't even allow you to upload the task stream. If it does, it's just a garble. And that makes the evaluators mad as fire. Don't do that. That's who's on the phone right now. One of them's on the phone. Don't do that. Because guess what they do when they don't like stuff? They call me. I don't like that. And so Windows-based applications is everything we do, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Zoom, whether it's Blackboard, or whether it's TaskStream. All of those 4 platforms that we use regularly, you need to use a Windows-based application. Again, this is a Lenovo. This is a 17-inch, but these I've got one just like this, a 15.
ThinkPad won't work.
Lenovo ThinkPads will work. They're
will work.
Windows-based, not the old IBM ThinkPads. This is a Lenovo ThinkPad right here.
Yeah.
It is Windows-based. But now the old IBM ThinkPads, no, they're too old.
Yeah.
And some of those are still floating around because school systems still have them. If it's a Lenovo ThinkPad, like this one right here, this is Lenovo, as you can see, Lenovo. But now if it's IBM ThinkPad, no, they're too old.
And Dr. Lamb, they would already know because the articles and the links that's in Blackboard, if you're using the wrong one, they won't open up for you.
That's correct. There's a reason why it's not compatible.
I have the Lenovo ThinkPad, and I still was not able to access some of the links.
Yeah, maybe
they just don't like me. I'm not sure.
If you have the ThinkPad tablet, if you have the tablet,
no, not the ThinkPad.
You have the 2-in-1, the convertible.
No, sir. I have the same one that you just held up.
Oh, good. It should work. Then probably you've got a pop-up blocker that you've enabled on it. Then.
What's that?
I have the HP, and there's some of the links that won't open on with the HP as well.
Pop-up blockers. You've got to allow pop-ups.
No, they're disabled. They're saying that they're not accessible.
Oh, so you've got security on it then. Oh, well then I can't.
Yeah,
No, it's almost like it's like there's a weird link or something and it won't open is what it's like saying.
But all of the links are opening, Dr. Lamb, and I've checked with the instructors, and I've checked with several students, and they've checked with several. So I know that there's nothing wrong with the links.
Sometimes it's pop-up blocker. Sometimes it's your security settings. From high back slider to move your security settings on your laptop from high down to medium or lower. And so if you can't open them, email them to me, D Lamb. Email them to me and I'll go in and check. And if I can get in them, because I'm not the instructors, many times they can open them. If I can't get in them, then that means, but if I can get in them, that means that you should be able to, that it's usually a security setting, a pop-up blocker, or you're using a school district computer that bans those because of the content. One of those three.
Dr. Lamb,
be right back with you.
So basically, what is the actual laptop or computer that we need?
Dr. Lamb will answer that, but it's just, Latasha, it's just a basic Hewlett Packard or something like that, a regular that recognizes Windows and Word programs. I call it your basic computers. You're just your basic computers, not anything fancy.
Dr. Stedman, just for clarity, if we're able to use our MacBook and then save the files and upload it from a basic computer, would that be acceptable? Or are you all saying that the original
No,
documents
as
will
long as
not be?
as long as it, when it comes, if you can make it work, then, you know, then we don't have a problem with that. But as a normal rule, we have had students historically have had problems when they've tried to use the MacBooks. So,
We've had people try to do that conversion deal. It's just never worked out well. I'll just tell you now. And if it scrambles the formatting, they will send it back. The evaluators will not give you any leeway on that. If you send it and it's the margins are off the end of the paper, they'll send it back.
and the reason
And
we're
remember,
telling
you
you,
only get one send back.
yeah. And Justin,
One.
we're telling you up front, we've had students that's had to go back and redo work completely all over again.
Yep.
So, you know, we're just telling you up front so that you don't have to deal with that down the road. Okay, we're going to move on with Dr. Go ahead. We're going to go move on with Dr. Hamilton at this time so that we don't run out of time. But we felt like that was necessary, that we talk to you about, you know, making sure that you're using the right devices. Dr. Hamilton?
Thank you. We're going to talk about the peer review process. And you'll be doing the peer review process almost every week of your program, not every week, but almost every week. You'll be reviewing 2 of your peers' work. And these will be peers that are in your Zoom team. You'll be reviewing peers' work. Number 1, you are in training right now to be a school administrator. So as a school administrator, you will be reviewing the work of other adults and providing feedback. So this is going to start providing you with the opportunity to be able to do that in a way that the feedback will be accepted and applied to the work. This also gives you the opportunity to look at the work of your colleagues and perhaps be able to think, wow, I should have added this into my school profile that my peer added to theirs. So it also, just like in school leadership, when you're observing others and you're giving feedback to them, you are able to learn and grow yourself. So it's a two-way street. And I think it's a very valuable process. And it also is going to train you and teach you that the more immediate the feedback is, the more valuable the feedback is. If your peer review is due on Sunday and you're at the last minute getting it in, or you're late, and then your peer in your Zoom team is unable to use your feedback because you were late getting your feedback to them and they couldn't apply that to their work, then it was sort of a moot exercise for both of you. So the earlier and the faster that you can give feedback to your peers, the better for you and for them in your professional growth and learning. This is just an overview. You do have Zoom teams and Blackboard. If for some reason you're not in a Zoom team, please let your instructor know immediately. You're going to work with your Zoom team on peer reviews, case studies, and things of this nature. If you have a Zoom team member who you cannot communicate with or is not communicating with you, please let your instructor know. So just an overview, and this does begin next week because your AAPSL Task 1 draft is due this Sunday. So you will do a peer review for 2 of your Zoom team members. We have a template that we'll look at in just a moment. You are going to download that template to your computer and you will type directly on that template. You're going to provide descriptive, specific, and thorough feedback to the key questions that are on the peer review template. You're going to give your classmates feedback, and again, the earlier, the better. You're going to gain experience with providing feedback to adults, and you're going to gain insights on how to improve your work, which we've talked about. You're going to do 2 peer review templates a week, and your first 2 peer review templates are due no later than Sunday, September 12th at 9 p.m. You'll upload these in 2 places. You're going to reply to your classmate's thread so that your classmate can see what you submitted and they can apply and consider your revisions. And you will also upload your peer review template into AAPSL completed peer review Dropbox. And this is where your instructors will look at your peer review and give you a grade. Now this says you're going to upload 4 uploads a week. You are, because you're going to do a peer review on 2 peers, and for each one you upload them in 2 places. One place for your peer to be able to see what you suggested, and one place for your instructor to give you your grade. So when you go to Blackboard, under peer review materials, you'll see Mel's peer review process, Mel's peer review template. Your Zoom teams are there, and there's also an example of a peer review. So the first thing is the peer review template. So when you go to the peer review template under peer review materials, you'll see that it says your name. That is you. Author, that is your peer that you are reviewing. This is what the template looks like. So you can go ahead and go to your peer review materials, peer review feedback template, and go ahead and save this to your computer so that you can use this as a template and peer reviews to your peer throughout this semester. There are 7 areas on that peer review template to which you will respond. So here's an example. So if these were the people in our Zoom group, Dale, Danny, Kathy, Robin, and Jamal, then my Zoom team's going to get together and we're going to determine who's going to review who. Now we can do the same people every week, or we can switch it up every week, whatever is best. But if Dale reviewed Danny and Kathy, and Danny reviews Kathy and Robin, just sort of lay it out like this so that you know clearly as your Zoom team. One of you can go ahead and step up as the Zoom team leader or Zoom master, and you can go ahead and arrange this for your team and demonstrate leadership in that way. But go ahead and set up that schedule so that it is communicated clearly in your Zoom team who will be reviewing. Again, you're going to download that template I showed you just a minute ago as a Word document. And then once you have completed that for each of your peers, so Robin, I do Jamal and Dale. So I would do Jamal, I will upload it in Jamal's discussion board for Jamal to see what I said. And then I will upload it in the completed peer review Dropbox. And then I would do the same thing for Dale. Now make sure that when you're doing your peer reviews, you're candid. This is going to help you learn how to handle tough situations and feedback to adults when you're an administrator. We all want our work to be the very, very best when it is submitted. Remember that not only is your instructor and your peers going to be looking at your work, also you're going to have an anonymous evaluator, and ultimately in the end, your work will be submitted to the state. So you want this to be the best representation of you that it can be. You want to provide good constructive feedback so that everyone's final project will be the very best. And remember, this is not personal. This is us supporting and collaborating with one another for us all to become the very best that we can be. Our feedback needs to be specific, descriptive, and helpful. And so this was something that Todd Whitaker shared about praise, and I sort of adapted it to feedback. It needs to be authentic. It needs to be true. It needs to be specific. Good work or try harder has no meaning. It needs to specifically say, your parenthetical in-text citations use the word AND and they should have an ampersand. Be clear and specific. You can also be specific with positive things that you see and point that out as well to just confirm and affirm for the author that this is the correct way to do that. Oh, wow, you remembered to use the ampersand in parenthetical in-text citations, and that is what they told us to do. Good job with that, or whatever. Just, you can give it both ways. It needs to be immediate. It needs to be timely. If someone gives you something to peer review and it's a week later before they get any feedback from you, they're going to have moved on with their final product, and it's not going to be as meaningful. Don't attach it to something else. Keep it clean, keep it succinct, and keep it private. You don't need to be going out and talking about other people's work with others. So also under peer review and materials, you will see that Dr. Revis has given us an example of a completed peer review. So that resource is there for you to be able to go in and use as an exemplar of the kind of work that you're going to be submitting. Please notice that it is thorough and descriptive, and it is not just like a one-word good job or anything like that. It is thorough, specific, and descriptive. So this is an excellent resource for you to go to as a positive exemplar. So remembering that when you submit your peer reviews, you are going to go to your Blackboard. I'm just going to pop out of that for just a minute and go here for you. You're going to go to your Blackboard. So if I peer reviewed Dale Lamb, I would go right here to AAPSL Task for Review, because that's where Dale uploaded it. And I will go to Task 1 for Peer and Instructor Review. And in here, I would see where Dale had uploaded his Task 1. So I'm going to attach my peer review to Dale's Task 1 so that Dale can see what I said about his work. And then if I evaluated Jamal's work, I would go down and I would find Jamal's thread. And right now there are no threads in here, but I would go down and I would find Jamal's thread and I would upload my peer review template in there for Jamal. So I've done that. And then I'm going to go right here underneath that to AAPSL Completed Peer Review Dropbox. And when I click on that, I see that I have 2 Task 1 peer reviews, AAPSL Task 1 Peer Review 1, AAPSL Task 1 Peer Review 2. So under Peer Review 1, I would upload my template that I did for Dale, and under Task 1 Peer Review 2, I would upload what I did for Jamal. And that's what my instructor is going to see, and that is what my instructor is going to grade me on. So that is why you need to make sure that you get those in both of those locations. So you will provide feedback to 2 of your peers for AAPSL Task 1 no later than September 12th. And remember that on September 12th, not only are you providing that feedback, but you're also uploading your Task 2 draft at the same time. So it's this rotating process that we're on to get you through. By week 5, your Zoom team will come together and you will do a video presentation where you will work together to look over your whole group's peer Task 1 and 2. And that will be in a video presentation, and we will go over that later. Does anyone have any questions about the peer review process?
I was able
Dr.
to.
Hamilton, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No,
You were up first, Brian.
oh, thank you. I've tried a couple different computers and it's saying on the peer review feedback template that I don't have permission to access it. And that's two different computers I've tried. Does anyone else have that problem?
Yes, I
Yes.
found it. Don't use the first link, use the second one.
The second one, that's why I was about to ask if the first link is not working, but the example template is. So is that the one that we use?
What? Tell me again what's not working?
Okay, you know where you tell us to go ahead and download the peer review?
The template.
The actual template is not working, but the review example template is.
Okay, so let me go back to my Blackboard course just to check this because I just opened it. So, whoops, sorry, wrong place. So thank you for saying this. So peer review materials, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then when you go to the peer review feedback template, is this what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am. That one is not working.
Okay, so what should happen is when it should download, so you see it downloaded right there for me and it opens right up.
Mm-hmm.
Who's your instructor?
Stedman.
Okay.
I don't
I don't know,
know.
because, and Dr. Hamilton, everything would have been transferred from mine
Exactly.
to all of
Yeah, your
yours.
shell
So,
was copied into mine.
yeah.
I don't know. I wonder if it's, what kind of computer are you opening it on?
I'm in the limbo. I have the limbo. I mean,
Yeah,
it
same here. I
opens-
got all the documents but that one.
That's so weird.
We'll go back and look at that.
I'll tell you what. Okay, Dr. Stedman has your emails. Maybe he could, I don't know. We'll look at it and Dr. Stedman will get back. You're both in Stedman's class. He'll get back with you.
Yeah.
I'm in Mr. Statman's class too, and I'm not able to see it either.
That is so weird.
We'll figure it out.
A few minutes ago, but I went back out and logged back in and it popped up. Maybe if you idle and don't have, and not using the interface, it doesn't work. But mine just got an error too, but then I logged out and logged back in and it pulled up fine. And I'm in Crawford's class, Dr. Crawford's class.
Okay, thank you, Francesca.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm in Dr. Stedman's class and it's working for me, so I'm not quite sure. And I'm on a Dell.
That's
And I just
interesting.
tried opening while you were doing it and it popped up.
Yeah, because mine popped up, so I don't know. Dr.
Was it
Stedman will
the-
work it out for you though, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
That's what I do know.
Okay, because one link is working and the other one is not, but I'm pretty sure if one link is working, eventually the other one should.
You would think, yes.
Yeah.
Worst case
Okay.
scenario, if the example's working, download that,
Yeah.
I
delete
did.
what Dr. Revis did, and then you'll have your template.
Again, okay, thank you, Dr. Hamilton. We're going to move on, but we'll fix that. But it still has got to have something with the devices. I truly believe that's what's going on. But anyway, let's move on to the next thing. Dr. Crawford, if you would share at this time, we wanted Dr. Crawford as an acting sitting principal to talk to you briefly about the PLC that you've heard so much of. Talk to you about it from the principal's perspective. Okay, I don't see Dr. Crawford. Let's move on. We don't have time. Let's go on. And on Tuesday night, you were introduced. Remember, we said that as you are finishing a task, we're already preparing you for the next task. So you were introduced to task 2. We're going to talk about that again. So Dr. Revis, if you would just give them an overview of task 2, what they should already be thinking about and what you will be working on as soon as you get through with task 1.
Okay, great. So guys, in task 2 is really where you start getting into the data, your data sets. And, you know, the funny thing about it is I had to really back some of you guys off from week 1, the AAPSL 1. You were already wanting to get into that data so much, but here's where you really get into the data. So I'm going to share my screen. Are you going to put it there? Okay, perfect. Thank you. I like to always create what I call look fors when I am looking at your work and giving you feedback. And I pull this directly from the helpful hints, because remember, the helpful hints aligns to your template. So the first thing I'm going to look for is a section called data collection strategies. And of course, those are the strategies that your PLC used to collect data. So let's say, for example, I don't want to get really deep into it because I know your instructor's went over this on Tuesday, but let's say, for example, that your principal said, I want you to do an 8th grade science PLC. So your PLC discusses how we're going to collect those data sets and what data sets to collect. This one's very narrowed because I'm going to collect probably my 2019 science, performance, and growth data. But you need to narratively talk about how you came to that decision about collecting that data. The second section, criteria and process for identifying the most pressing need. So you're in your PLC and you've decided the data set you're going to bring to the PLC. And now you talk about after we analyze it, what criteria are we going to use to do this analysis, and what process are we going to use? So you're narratively going to describe that. The next section will talk about that collaborative data analysis, how you examine that data and how you disaggregated your data sets. Again, this is narrative work. And then lastly, we're going to talk about how we determine as a PLC our most pressing need and clearly identify that most pressing need. Now, you can have some graphs and charts and tables in prompt 1. You can. And a lot of times that helps and supports your narrative. But prompt 1 is heavy in the narrative. How we're making decisions, how we're analyzing data, how we're coming up with our most pressing need. So those are my look fors when I am looking at the prompt 1. Any questions? Brian, you have your hand up. Is that an old hand or is that a new hand?
Okay.
I think he stepped away.
Okay, and Dr. Hamilton, if you would move on to task 2, prompt 2.
I'm trying to unmute. There we go. Be happy to. Thank you, Dr. Stedman. So we want to talk about what happens next after task 2, prompt 2. So task 2, prompt 2 is just the figures, the graphic representation of what you did in task 2, prompt 1. It's the graphic representation of the narrative from task 2, prompt 1. So I got permission from a former student to share some of these. So my former student in task 2, prompt 1, the data that she had collected and were analyzed to help determine their most pressing need in their school. She collected data from the North Carolina School Report Card. She collected data from SchoolNet, and she collected her EVOS projected science proficiency data. So she started out with her first figure. I'm going to put this on present. In her first figure, because the first thing she talked about in task 2, prompt 1 was the NC report card. So these were summary data. Now, please note, just like we discussed in APA formatting, she labeled this as figure 1. That was left justified and it was bold. Then she came with a succinct label, name, title for this figure. There it is, and it is not bold and it is in italics. And then beneath every figure, you're going to need a note. Note is left justified, it is in italics. And then you're going to give a little note about what is it that we're seeing. So she did that for the NC report card. She had another one for NC report card. This was figure 2. And again, we had our title and then our note. Note in italics, colon, and it tells what that is. And then again, something else from the NC report card that she had talked about her narrative. This is a graphic representation from her narrative in task 2, prompt 1. And then again, more about the NC report card. And then she went on with her graphic representations from SchoolNet. And same thing, you notice now we're up to figure 5. And then we have our title, this in italics. We have the graphic and then a brief little paragraph or note about what we are seeing here. She does this for figure 6, figure 7, figure 8, and then figure 9. She has the EVOS projected science proficiency. She has figure 9 in bold, and see that these are in sequential order. The title is in italics, not bold. We have our figure image, and then the note. What is it that we are seeing? Please, I'm just going to note one other thing right here. Note that go back. The end of that sentence right here, I hope you can see this. It says the number of students that are projected to be between the 40th and 70th percentile is 26. Now note and remember that we do not start or end numbers with numerical sentences with numbers, like written in a numerical form. So this is why she wrote out 26 in word form. So please note that. Also notice that she has her reference citations and her in-text citations, and there were corresponding citations in the reference section at the end. And at the very end, you don't want to just end task 2, prompt 2 with just this and nothing else. You sort of want to sum it up and restate that most pressing need. Dr. Revis said, be crystal clear and explicit about what your most pressing need is. In task 2, prompt 1, you're going to do a summary statement of the graphic representations that you have provided, and you're going to restate that most pressing need. So here's the little summary statement that this student had provided. And then she even said, after discussing all these data points, we decided that it would be our most pressing need to add reteaching standards to the classroom schedule for these science standards. By doing this, 5th grade teachers can continue teaching new standards while reviewing the ones that will greatly affect the science EOG scores. And so that's it. It's your graphic representation following the APA formatting for figures, and then doing a little summary statement at the end with a restatement of your most pressing need. Thank you, Dr. Stedman.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Hamilton and Dr. Revis. And again, we will talk about this in our Tuesday classes more, but we felt like that we needed to introduce you on Tuesday, give you more information tonight so that you will be better prepared, because again, remember that once you get this information, you don't have a lot of time that you know before you have to put all of this together. So some of you work faster than others. Many of you will have finished task 1 very quickly over the next day or whatever. This gives you an opportunity to go ahead and get started on task 2. And I would encourage you, don't wait. Don't wait. Get ahead of the game. Remember, we've talked to you too. You get task 2, get through task 3. And after task 3, all of it, I think, will start coming together, and you will have gotten used to the pace of things, and you won't feel so rushed after that. You've just got to go through it a couple of weeks to get through it. But just hang in there, and it will work out. Just wanted to I just gone into another computer, and I've checked all of my links, and every one of them opened up as Word documents. They're Word documents, and every one of them opened up for the peer review. So I don't know. We'll continue to look at that, and we'll talk. But check your devices.
I think that's, Dr. Stedman, excuse me. I think that's one thing just to realize, that sometimes when you link it and it opens up at the bottom of your computer as a Word document, and then you have to then open that Word document, and that might be throwing some people off.
And it may be because when I open it up, you have to actually save it again. You know, every time you open it up, it saves, and then it'll open up. So it's not the fastest process, but they are opening up. Let's move on. And Dr. Crawford, if you would at this time, if you would, as a sitting principal, working with PLCs in your school, would you just talk over the next just very few minutes, you know, your perspective of PLCs in the school? Okay, I think he's, are you frozen? Okay, I think he's frozen. Okay, well, we can pick that up another time. We were just gonna take that from another level. Before we close, we've given you a lot. It's a lot, and I know it seems like we're all over the place, and we are all over the place. We have to be. But what would you have any final questions before we sign out tonight from any of us?
I have a question. Will we have access to the PowerPoint slideshow?
Yes, Jackie, I've already got them in my shells, and the others will place them under week 2. You will be able to find all this information under there.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Dr. Stedman, should we wait until after Tuesday night before we conduct our second PLC meeting?
No, you can move on whenever you're ready. Laquanda, you go ahead and do it, Laquanda, whenever you're ready. You don't have to wait until next Tuesday. If you're at that place and you can go ahead and move on with it, then you go ahead and be proactive and make it happen.
Dr. Hamilton, I have a question in reference to the format in reference to not changing anything. Can you kind of go over that? Because I'm working on my information, but I know it's a long document and it has things in red, and that's the area that we can actually change. But can you go over it? I know you went over it already, but I just want to make sure that I don't change the template.
Most certainly. So when you are, let me share my screen right quick. Okay, thank you for asking. I appreciate the question. So when you are in your AAPSL template and materials, and you go to your AAPSL template, it'll take it just a minute to upload. This is what Dr. Stedman was just talking about. So you'll just leave everything like it is. The only thing that's in black is you will back that up and you'll put your name there. And then you'll scroll on down, and it's gonna, anything that's highlighted, you're gonna put text. Anything that's in red is a reminder, and you're going to delete that. And anything that's in black, except for your name here, stays. So school profile. So right here, you will just double space down and you'll go over I work. You're not gonna want that in bold. I'm making this up as I go. This is the, okay, I'm making this up off the top of my head. Elementary school has been in existence. This is the first year, it was called Masonboro, blah, blah, blah. So I'll just keep on writing. Now, when I finish that, because I know that this yellow tells me I have to write something, I'm going to go back right here, and I am going to remove that yellow highlighting, and I'm just going to leave school profile like that. And I'll have my school profile in there, and it'll probably be a couple of pages long. And then I'm going to leave all this right here, task 1 description. I'm going to read this very carefully, but I'm not going to do anything with that. I'm going to leave it. Instructions, I'm going to read them. I'm not going to do anything there. Prompt 1, I'm not going to do anything there. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to read it and leave it. And then PLC research. So when I go right here, this just reminds me, yellow, I have to write something. Red, this is a reminder. I have to have at least 3 sources written in APA 7th edition. And one of my resources has to be DE4. So I'll delete that. I'm going to go ahead and remove my yellow highlighting. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to start right here. I'm going to indent, double spaced. I'm going to say, according to DE4, I'm making this up right now, right? PLCs have 4, well, yeah, I wouldn't start with PLCs. I'd say professional learning.
Your screen is on top. Your screen is on top.
My screen is on top.
Yes, ma'am. We see your face, but not the work. We barely can see.
You don't see my work? I'm sharing my screen. This is weird. Okay.
It's, your face is the, yeah.
Thank you for that. I don't want you seeing my face. I want you to see my screen.
I could see it. I think we all could see it.
You can see it?
Yes, Dr. Hamilton, I can see it.
Now we can,
good.
yes.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe it's the view you have your Zoom on. Have 4 parts. I'm just making this up. And then you would just keep on typing with your research. So that's the way it'll end up looking. So those are the only things you really change. The yellow highlighting and then the red text. And then everything else in the black stays just like it is.
And we're going to upload all 15 pages, but just only change the first part that's required, correct?
That's perfect. Yes, ma'am. That's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Dr. Hamilton.
You're welcome. And then at the very end, when you scroll down to the bottom, at the very end, don't forget that you will have your reference section, and that's there for you And we got the red in there. That's just an example. So you'll take all that out. And then after your reference section will come your appendices. So after that, you'll have Appendix 1, Appendix A, Appendix B. And Appendix A should be your permission from your principal to have your PLC.
Right.
Now, in reference to the appendix, like my principal sent me a response back in the email. I don't know if this is Dr. Lamb. All I do is copy it and just put it and then put the appendix up at the top and put the email at the bottom, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
You'll say, got permission from my principal to host a PLC. And then in parentheses, you're going to say see Appendix A. And then at the bottom, underneath the reference section, you'll have and centered in the middle, Appendix A, and you'll just copy and paste that email in there as Appendix A.
Okay, thank you for the clarity. It helped.
Oh, thank you for asking the question. You probably helped a lot of people.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hamilton. And in closing, Dr. Crawford, if you would speak to the group in closing about, as a sitting principal, your concept, your views on PLCs in the school.
So I will tell you, well, first of all, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for being here this evening. I will tell you this. The word PLC is tossed around so much to where it's almost become a cliche. And it is very, very easy for what you think is a PLC to wind up turning into a meeting. And there is a difference in the two. So I have a little thing I want to show everybody. A true PLC really focuses in on DeFore's big four questions. What do we want students to know or do? How do we know if they've learned it? What do we do if they don't learn it? And what do we do if they've already learned it? Anything outside of those questions as a meeting of professionals is not a PLC. And I've contrasted that with things like you're meeting with teachers and someone says to you, you know, Dr. Stedman, I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm losing 15 minutes of my math block coming in from recess. Or, you know, in 2 weeks, our second graders will start to learn the swim program. So we got to start working on buses and permission slips, things of that nature. Or someone pipes up and says, you know, 5th grade science fair projects are due in 2 weeks. Now, if you're sitting with a group of teachers and one of them says to you, they're losing 15 minutes of mathematics instruction coming in from recess, there is a very natural and eager tendency to want to stop and address that because that's important and it's something that needs to be addressed. But at that point, you're no longer having a PLC, you've now moved into a meeting because you're not addressing one of these big four questions around DuFour. Yes, addressing why this teacher can't get in and out of a classroom and losing that much instruction, because that's 75 minutes a week of lost instruction. Is that important to deal with? Absolutely. Do you need to find a solution for it? Absolutely. Is it part of the PLC? No. And what you will find is throughout the course of the school year, you will need to be mindful and protect this time when you are meeting with teachers to deal with curriculum and instruction and data, which addresses all four of these questions. And so be mindful of those traps. And it is a trap. Again, no administrator worth their salt is going to want to sit there and allow a teacher to lose this much time for math instruction. You're going to want to deal with that. And I get it. But the time to deal with that is not during your PLC time where you got to focus in on these four questions. So even that was something that as we were reassessing my own school improvement plan this year, that I had to go back and readjust so that we're focusing specifically on these types of things during PLCs and hold that time dear and specific so that you keep the main thing, and avoid the trap of falling into things outside of those big four under DuFour. And again, it's very easy to fall into that. Oh my God, 15 minutes. And like I said, that's 75 minutes of math instruction a week. No one wants that, but that's not your PLC. And so be mindful of that trap and make sure that when it comes to that PLC time, that you protect it against all costs. Dr. Stedman, the superintendent's on the phone. I'll call her back because I got to finish figuring out what's going on with my fourth graders and why they can't access the core curriculum. I got to figure out why 70% of my kinders aren't mastering first sound fluency. Yay, Devils being back. And so, oh my God, you would tell the superintendent you call her back? Yeah. Because right now, this is where I need to be, and this is the work I need to be doing. So just be mindful of that trap and make sure that you keep the main thing. And when it comes to PLCs, if you're not addressing those 4 questions, then you're not having a PLC, you're having a meeting.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Crawford. Great presentation. And that visual is very good. I've had some students say they would like that. So if you would send that to each of us and we can put it in your AAPSL template and materials section so that you will have access to that as well. I want to thank all of the instructors for, just their professionalism and the time that they have put into making sure that we're providing you with the best that we can provide you with, and hopefully getting you on the right track. Again, I know it's a lot. We know that up front, but we just feel like it's important that we give you all of this. We give this to you now so that once you get in, as you're getting into the program, you'll look back and you'll say, I am so thankful for that first 3 or 4 weeks when they were giving us all that stuff. You're in boot camp right now. It's like being in the Army and being in boot camp. But guess you're going to get over basic training soon, and you'll graduate, and you can look behind you, and it'll be behind you. So,
I mean, it's true, Dr. Stedman, what you are saying is true. And I know every single student we've probably ever had at this point is like, well, this is not going to be working out for me. But it really does. I promise you, we carry you through this. You get through it. We will support you through this. And at the end of this semester, you're going to be like, oh my goodness, I remember feeling that way. But I'm just so proud of myself, and it just comes through. And just, you can call us, text us, email us, anything, anytime, and we will carry you through this. And it just takes it's like learning a new vocabulary. And once you get that new vocabulary down, you're good to go, and you'll roll right on through this program, and you'll do great.
And the fact that you've been with us through 2 complete weeks already tells us that you're made of good stuff, and you're going to be able to make it. You're going to make it.
That's right.
You're going to
13 more to go.
You're going to make it through boot camp.
That's right.
Okay. Good night, everybody. We're going to sign out. You will get your video at some point. I'll process it, get it to the instructors, and then it can be found under week 2 in Blackboards. But we'll see you next Tuesday.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Stedman, Dr. Revis, Dr. Crawford. Great job.
Thank y'all. Okay, bye-bye.